Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Atal'Dazar 1-minute boss guides, let's go. Really quick, before we dive into this one, it is one of the more open floor plan dungeons, so boss order is completely dependent on your group and your route. I'm going to go into the order that I prefer using in pugs, so with that out of the way, let's dive in. Starting off, we have Rezan, and this boss is quite simple. First, everyone in your group should be aware of the ancient dry bones littering the arena. If either a player or the boss walks over one of these bone piles, it will reanimate into an ad. First things first, tanks will want to drag the boss near one of these pillars along the side of the encounter space. Tanks will also want to be aware of the serrated teeth ability, which applies a really nasty bleed. You'll want to rotate your defensives on each cast. Shortly after this, Rezan will cast Terrifying Visage. This will cause any player within line of sight of the boss to be feared, hence why the tank is positioning the boss near one of the pillars or the stairs. Following this cast, Rezan will cast Pursuit on a DPS or healer, which will cause Rezan to fixate and chase down that player. This player needs to run along the edge of the encounter space to prevent Rezan from walking over any of the ancient dry bones. Once the pursuit finishes, either keep the boss where he is or drag him back to the original starting location. Dealer's choice. You'll want to prepare for Vol'Kaal by making sure each DPS is attacking their own totem, since while these totems are active, Vol'Kaal can simply not be damaged. DPS will need to pay attention to all totem health, since once one is defeated, you'll have a short window to kill the remaining totems, or they'll full heal and your group will need to start over. During this phase, the boss will melee the tank and jump at random targets, with the ability Toxic Leap. Just avoid the landing zone. After every other leap, the boss will also cast Noxious Stench, which will apply a stacking disease to all party members and deal moderate damage. Make sure everyone is keeping an eye out for this cast since it can be interrupted. Once all totems are killed, the boss will become vulnerable and phase 2 will begin, which basically just has the boss spawning toxic pools under players and meleeing the tank. The Stench cast is still a mechanic during this entire phase, so just keep an eye out for that cast as well. The general strat is to have the tank kite the boss around the edge of the encounter space. Melee should spread out around the boss, and ranged players can either play in melee or in the center of the room. It's really up to you. This fight is just a race against your healer's mana pool. Upon pulling Priestess Alun'za, there are two general strategies. Either pull the boss away from the throne, or keep her right on top of it. The reason you would pull her away is due to the ads that are spawned throughout the encounter. Some groups choose to keep the ad CC'd while other groups opt to kill it. I just recommend tanking the boss on or near the throne and just kill the ad. Anyways, tanks should look out for the Gilded Claws buff. While the boss is buffed, she will deal high magic damage with each melee attack. Luckily, this can be purged, so DPS should look to purge this from the boss whenever it's possible. Tainted blood pools will also spawn around the encounter space. At first, you'll want to try to avoid these until the boss casts Transfusion. During the Transfusion cast, the boss will heal by channeling life from all party members. The way to prevent this cast from healing the boss is by having each player step into a tainted blood pool on the ground. Not only will it prevent the boss from healing, but if all players pick up the pool successfully, the boss will actually even take some damage. Quickly going back to the ad, it's important to defeat it or keep it CC'd because it will gobble up the tainted blood pools, allowing the boss to heal when she eventually does cast Transfusion. Lastly, just dodge the molten gold orbs. They do slap if you get hit. This boss basically kills itself, so just focus up, keep ads locked down, and just do the dance. Yazma is quite a rattling boss. While almost no mechanics are happening, there always feels like there's a lot going on. First, tanks watch out for the skewer ability. This just does heavy physical damage to the tank. We also have Racking Pain, a regular cast from Yazma. This will apply a nasty damage over time effect, so players in your group are going to want to make sure that they interrupt this whenever it's possible. The Soul Rend cast will rip a soul fragment from each player, dealing damage to all players. The souls that are spawned from this ability will attempt to actually make their way to the boss. If they happen to connect with Yazma, every player in your party will take massive damage in the form of a damage over time effect. The main mechanic of this fight is to create enough distance between the boss and the ads to prevent them from connecting. CCs and slows are heavily encouraged. The strat that I always recommend is to have the tank kite the boss around the room either clockwise or counterclockwise, and the rest of your group should run about 20 yards behind the boss on Soul Rend cast. And that's pretty much it. Oh, lastly, I forgot to mention the Echoes of Shadra. Avoid these or you'll basically die. Now, just a note, they only are fixating players while they're large, and when they're small, they typically stay still or patrol in a very small area. As long as your group is focused on defeating the soul spawns and avoiding spiders, this fight is easy peasy. Massive shout out to all my Patreon supporters because without them, there wouldn't be videos like this. Best of luck this season, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.